We went up north. I want to talk a little bit about the West Bank and what's going on there, and then a little bit about the anti-Semitism, and then we'll take questions. And we got about 10 minutes or so. So I know there's a lot of stuff to cover, but let's see what we got.
Okay. So West Bank. The West Bank is on the verge of exploding. The only reason the West Bank hasn't exploded is Israel's in there. And way even before October 7th, Israel goes in every single night and extracts terrorists. I will tell you, the sea line is right, the line is the, and they are being turned totally radical. What do I mean? Hamas controls Tulgram 100%, literally miles from Tel Aviv. The Qalqilia is 50% controlled by Hamas. Jenin and Nablus are terror centers. Don't take your eyes off the West Bank. Now, I'm going to tie in something here that you don't know, that I've been telling Congress about, but they don't seem to want to listen. I'm going to tie in the Iranian attack and the West Bank. Why did Israel, in April, attack that IRGC general in the Iranian embassy annex in Damascus? Because Iran had crossed two unspoken lines. One was, they were allowing their popular mobilization units, the militias in Iraq that they control, to shoot at a lot. That was one line. More important is Iran has been moving in game-changing weapons and missile technology into the West Bank, Samaria, Judea, to try to Gazify it, as Mir Ben Shabbat, the former national security advisor, said, make it into Hamastan. That's why Israel struck that general. I'm not sure they anticipated the response that Iran made. And then I'm not sure, I think I hit, when I brought up Israel, was Israel's response too proportionate when it responded? And Israel didn't really want to address that question because President Biden had told Israel to take the win of what that was. How this will play out and what this will mean for the future, I don't know exactly. So tying the West Bank into Iran, each one of these things, this is five-dimensional chess. When I was briefing Congress this week, really smart people that I was talking to, it's like overwhelming. And if they're not a foreign policy person dedicated just purely to the Middle East, some of this stuff is just way too in the weeds, but they need to make proper decisions. Anti-Semitism?
Yeah, but before we get to that, so literally, there's a powder keg every place. It's not just in Gaza. It's not just, and it's in the West Bank. And there's almost no place they can. It's almost like at the beginning of the country when they for years now they've kind of been living under the supposition that they wouldn't have these problems. What about the Abraham Accords? And then we're getting to the anti-Semitism. Is that helping? Is that doing anything?
They've held. The United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, they're still there. The Saudis are just waiting for the right opportunity. They don't really like the Palestinians. But their streak does, and they've fed them a lot of bad stuff for a long time. That will happen. They're not doing it because they're Zionists. They're doing it because it's in their business, economic interests. And they're going to do it sooner or later.
Now into the anti-Semitism and what you've done. By the way, your Instagram account name as well.
So everybody, if you have Instagram, it's Dr. Eric Mandel, like a doctor, Dr. Mandel. Please go on it. Please follow me. Please tell your friends and your children and anybody to follow me. And if you reach out to me, I would very much appreciate that.
So just that, there are great interviews on there, not just Dr. Mandel interviews, but him interviewing others. I watched an interview with Michal Kapler-Wunsch, who is Israel's ambassador, I guess, to and for anti-Semitism. It's an incredible conversation. Anybody should listen to that conversation. She has so much to say, and of course your questions were great. But where are we? We're in a scary position, and just give us a little overview, and maybe you can also tell us what we can do.
So, my son, sometime last fall, said to me, Abba, is there a place for me as an American Jew in the future? He never asked that question before. And I looked at him, and again, I'm an American exceptionalist, and this country is not, there's never been a country in the Jewish diaspora that's ever been anything like America, and I love America, but I couldn't give him an honest answer. I am concerned about what's going on, what is seeped out of what is said in public, what has been allowed, what has been able to hide behind the guise of anti-Zionism. There's a real problem. Cowardly college administrators, knocking off a couple of presidents of the congressional thing is lovely, but that doesn't get to it. If you really want to know a couple of things, so I have an article coming out. I'm not going to tell you to read it on Shabbat, but if you do, it's on Sunday. It's in the Hill tomorrow. There's something called the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. It codifies anti-Semitism, is that if you say Israel does not have a right to exist as a Jewish state, that is anti-Semitism. If you're standing against Israel, that it's not against any other country, that's anti-Semitism. It passed the House overwhelmingly Democrats and Republicans. It is sitting in Chuck Schumer, the majority leader, who says he's the watchman. To tell everybody and anybody to reach out and inundate Chuck Schumer's office to bring the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act to the Senate floor. And, making it unimportant. Last year I spoke at the American Embassy to Oman on anti-Semitism. And I said at that time, it was right after, it was last May, maybe it was July, the president had just come out with this anti-Semitism initiative, which prioritized the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism. He couldn't go so far as to make it the war of the land because of pressure, but he did prioritize it. It's time now for Schumer to do it, and the president will sign it, because it is believed there's over 70 U.S. senators, Democrats and Republicans, if this came forward, it would be voted in the affirmative. And the president, I believe, would sign it, and it would be a great legacy of theirs, because it would protect a vulnerable minority with a majority, that we are Jews, 2% of this country, but for years, way more than 50% of religious hate crimes are against Jews. So it's time for us to act, and by the way, nobody can do any consequences unless you define anti-Semitism. So if you want a source of a problem right now, it's the center. This is not political.
So not just contacting his office, but contacting your own representative's offices and telling them, push.
Talk to both of them. If this is New Jersey, call your senators and to say, we want you to tell Chuck Schumer to bring this to the Senate floor. This is important to us. As Jews, we need this to be protected. This is nothing to do about taking away somebody's freedom of speech to say the most hateful things. It defines anti-Semitism, so there can be consequences in situations where Jews are intimidated or physically assaulted, as they have been on college campuses. So there will be some real laws that we can make our education department in the United States comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act.
So now you gave us something very tangible to do. Thank you for that.